today as well to come to this webinar. I appreciate that this is a really busy time of year, and in the current situation with COVID, it's certainly not easy. So, you know, I want to say very best of luck to all of you as your centres are reopening and as the learners come back as well, and hope that everything will go okay for you all over the autumn. Today, what I'm going to run through is our new platform called Learn with Nala, which we're calling it the new Write On. And I'll be running through how you can get set up as a centre, how you can create an account for or with your learner, how you then register for a course or indeed multiple courses, and then how you get started on a course. For those of you that were familiar with Write On, you'll have seen before that we had courses from level 1 to 4 that any of the learners could go in and use and get QQI certification on. What's new with this new platform is that there's now going to be a tutor view. So you'll be able to go in and see the progress of your learners. So I'll explain how that works today. As Fergus kindly said at the start, if you have any questions, feel free as we're going through the session to type your questions in, and then I'll make time at the end to go through them. You will all be automatically muted just to stop any background sound coming in, but I can also hand the microphone to you at the very end as well if you'd like to raise a question using your microphone. So the first thing is, if you're a centre and you would like to use this new platform, Learn with Nala, we recommend that you fill out a memorandum of understanding. Okay, so you can email my colleague Elaine at mou@nala.ie if you would like to request a memorandum of understanding. For those of you that used Write On, basically it's the same type of form where we list out or where you list out your details, so your centre, your website, and then it's an understanding between you as a centre and then us and Nala how this platform will be used, and that it's used as a resource for your learners. So that would be the first step. There is an e-zine, and I'll give you a link for where you can sign up for this e-zine as well to get updates, as well as getting a link to the MOU. And once you get the MOU into us, we also ask that you become a member of Nala, and you can contact my colleague Margaret Murray, that's mmurray @nala.ie at any stage if you want to make sure your membership is up to date. And then the other thing that we ask is that you take part in training. I have in there that it's training both online and face-to-face. For the moment, unfortunately, we won't be doing any face-to-face training, but as soon as circumstances change, I will let you know. And that training is free for NALA members. The other thing we ask is that you send in a logo. So the logo that we will put up on the website will be of a particular size. So basically it's a banner. So I just ask that when you send in your MOU form completed and your logo, bear in mind that it has to fit a particular shape. In this case, it's 1200 by 242 pixels. Okay. You can send that into us and we can resize it down to try and make sure that it fits in. If you don't have a logo, that's okay. We can make one for you. The reason that we're asking for the logos is because we're calling this platform Learn with Nala. We're saying that this is a resource that you can use, but we recognize that the learners are your learners in your centre. So it's important that your centre is then seen on this platform and that your learners know that when they're logging into it, they're part of your centre. So that's something, as I say, that we've put up there now. And when the MOU is completed and we have your form in and logo, then you'll get an email that will look something like this. So we'll be setting you up as a centre. We'll give you a login that is specific for your centre. And then we'll also give you a number of supports, which will include a video, which will include a guide. And you should see today in the handout section that's in your control panel for GoToMeeting, there's a handout called Getting Started with Learn with NALA. So that guide you can use as well, just to help you get started. So it looks something like this. If you haven't downloaded it, I'll send it to you after the recording today, along with the slides as well. So this is a useful guide, which I've just updated recently, just to reflect the changes that are happening in the platform. And you'll also get a tutor login. So that will be something that we will do on our side. We'll set you up as a tutor. We'll give you a specific login with a password that you can then go and change. So just to explain how all of this works, I'm just going to go into the platform and give you an example of the kind of URL that you might be given if you are a centre. Okay, so I'll just pull this across here. What you'll see here is that you're given this link and there's a code at the end of it. This code is going to be specific to your centre, and this will bring you straight to a page where the learner has to create their details, and those details are then linked to a particular centre. In this case, Involve Youth Project Navan. So those of you that might have used Write-On might have remembered before that there'd be an account page similar to this, but then there was a long drop-down list of over 190 centres where learners had to scroll through it and find their centre. So we've tried to keep the process simpler now by just putting in the one centre. Now that said, if you have any relatives or friends or neighbours who would like to use this, who are not in a centre, they can simply go to courses.nala.ie and create an account as a distance learner. So it's available in both ways, but obviously for your own centre to be set up, this is how, when we are creating your centre on the system, we'll create this link, which we will then send to the contacts that are listed in the MOU form. And from there, then that link can be used to set up a learner. So to set up a learner account, I might do something like this. So I put in a username, password that I can choose myself. Okay, so unlike Write-On, the password isn't generated for me. I will need an email. Okay, so that is something that we are flagging up to centres that you will need. Okay, and that email has to be unique. So in the past, we've seen that tutors might give their email address and then the one email is used for several learners. Bear in mind that if you are a centre that is not an ETB centre, there's a requirement by NALA, because we're funded by SOLAS, to put learners' details into a SOLAS database. So the ETBs are doing all of this anyway, and we have to do it as well, which would include an email address. So it does need to be unique. The beauty will be, as we're working and developing the platform, which was only just launched there in March, that over time we'll be able to send emails to the learner to remind them to get submissions in for QQI rounds, or if we can see that they're not maybe progressing on the platform, we'll be able to send them an email as well. So it is really important to have that email address. So just bear that in mind when you are helping your learners get set up. So then I put in my first name, my last name, my address. And some of you may be doing this with a learner, face-to-face, hopefully. Some of you may be doing this by Skype or Teams, or some of you may be doing this on behalf of the learner. So I suppose, yeah, to bear it in mind. The PPSN is required up front as well. And then you just put in the gender and date of birth. And then there's terms and conditions there. When you click on this link, there is a video here that will explain all the terms below and also how to get back to the forms page here, and the same with the privacy policy. Okay, so that's all explained for learners. It is quite lengthy, I have to say. Myself, I've done it or I've made the video, but unfortunately it is legal terms, so it is what it is. So once you've, or the learner has had a chance to go through that, then you can tick that and then create account. So that's the first step in the process. So if learners had an account on WriteOn before, unfortunately WriteOn is closed, so we're not transferring over any accounts. So you will need to start from scratch, and the learner will need to have an account created on the new platform. The second step in getting started is to register for a course. So for example, what we have available at the moment is level 2 courses. So there's a number of those. And then we are now over the autumn launching level 3 courses. So just today we've launched maths actually at level 3, and there's more that will be coming later this year. So I click on register now, and you can see that I have registered as this account for this course. Okay. If you're doing this on behalf of a learner or alongside a learner, what I'd suggest is if you want to sign up for several courses in one go, then use the back button here to go back and then select your next course. So it could be writing, it might be pattern and relationship, for example, and it might be maths, we'll say a level 3 one. And then once a number of courses have been selected, then if you click on clicking here, it will bring you into what I call the inner part of the platform. So think of it in two parts. There's an outer part where you create your account and you register for courses, and then an inner part where the content is. Now, this has actually brought me to an account where I was already logged in, because I have a number of accounts on this. So let me just go in as my new account that I've created. And you can see the courses that I've registered for are there. Okay, so if I go to level 3, it'll just have my level 3 courses, level 2, my level 2, and if I click under all my courses are there. The other thing that you see here is the banner that I've set up for this particular center. So this is my test center. But if you were in an ETB, you would have your ETB logo here. If you're Ability West or any of the other centers, NLM and so on, then the logo would appear here. And then to get started on a course, I can have a look first of all at any of the announcements that are here. There are some videos that explain how to get started. I can make this large and play it and make it small again. And then to get started, I simply click on the course. And there are some videos here as well that explain what this particular course is about. So think of it like this, that I've now clicked onto a course and this is the course homepage, whereas this button up here is the overall homepage. So to go back to the course again, I click on the course. I'm on the course homepage, And then the guides below these videos will say click on content to get started. So at level 2 and 3, as we had on Write On, there was an initial assessment that you could use to fast track through the course, and a summative assessment, which you could then use to get a QQI award. This is something similar now in that we're calling it What Do I Already Know? Because basically this is our recognition of prior learning. If somebody already had some skills in pattern and relationship, maybe they're almost a level 3 learner, what they could do is do these tasks here, and if they got everything right, an end test would appear at the end here, which currently it's not there. Okay. Or if I feel I don't have any knowledge, then I can simply work my way through the lessons. So to give you an idea of what some of these tasks look like, I click on Start here. Okay, and the content screens will look like this. So there's a speaker button here, so that's going to read out any of the text that's beside it. To navigate, I'm going to use my next button. And there's also a previous button if I wanted to go back. There is a button here at the side that gives me a view of where I am. So you can see that this is highlighted here. And back to content would bring me back to that lessons page again. So I'll just close this. And then you get an idea of what some of the activities look like. So this is our typical drag and drop activity. So I need to match the things and drag them into the right place. So I do that by clicking on it and dragging it. That's probably irregular. Apologies if I get some of this wrong now. And when I'm done, then this check answers will appear and it gives me a score. Because this is a task, it's a quiz or a little test, there's no option to try again. But later on, we'll see in the lessons, you can try again. Okay. So all of these tasks, as I say, are recognition of prior learning. People don't have to do these particular tasks if they don't want to. But if you have somebody who has never got any kind of certification at all, it could be a nice way, if they have prior knowledge, that they can get through and get a QQI certification relatively quickly. And at level 2, there's not a lot of tasks. They are quite short. So you can see that it's using different types of media. So there's images. I can move things around. At any time, I can check or click on Clear Answers, and it will reset it again. And then I'll get my score. And then there's one more task in this particular course. And all of these are based on the QQI learning outcome for pattern and relationship. So if you Google QQI level 2 pattern and relationship, you'll see 4 different learning outcomes for that course. And all of these, each task is based on each learning outcome. So I can click on Check Answers, and I've got everything right. There are videos in here that explain what to do if you think you've answered everything correctly. And again, you can make the video large and play it, or if you think you've got some things wrong. You can click on Next, and then I'm done. And then it brings you back to this lessons page. Those of you that are familiar with Write On, I always say that this page is very like the ladders page, where the little icon used to go up and down. What you will notice here is that this message has popped up. And what we're doing is we're giving badges for each thing that somebody achieves. So in this particular case, it's giving me a badge for task 1. So basically, if I get all the tasks in this block, what do I already know, correct, then I'll get these badges or awards. I can see these if I click on awards and click on view available awards, the badges will appear here. Okay. There is a little delay because I got all of the tasks right, and yet this one isn't ticked at the moment. So, but over time that will improve and it should appear there, so that one is available. So that's one way that I could start to go through the content. I can also go straight into the lessons. And for yourselves as tutors, it's good to know that unlike on Write On, you can decide where to dip in and out of the lessons. So I can go to start here and simply work my way through each screen. So there's some that are information screens, like these. There's some that will be drag and drop, like this. Note now the restart activity or try again button, as it is in some of the courses, will appear so I can do the whole activity again. So the lessons are really providing that practice for those quizzes that you've seen, because there will be another quiz at the end, which is the summative assessment towards getting a QQI award. Sometimes there may be a pop-up that appears like this. The videos explain that if that does appear, just click on X. Okay, so you can just ignore that. As I say, the platform is still in development and unfortunately will continue to be in development for the next probably year or two. So you will see some things changing slightly, but we're going to try and keep it to the core look and feel that all level 2 courses, for example, will look like this. So I can go through the lessons this way, or I can simply navigate to a particular one that I may like to. Okay. So as yourselves as tutors, when you are set up, I would recommend that you get familiar with the content, and you can then guide your learners where to dip in and out if you so wish. Some centres don't use this for certification and are simply using it for blended learning. That's okay too. All of these lessons, as I say, it's useful to get familiar with where the content is and the particular type of exercises. So for example, I can go back to content. I can decide to start into lesson 2 if I wish. And I can go to a particular activity type. So we have a drag and drop here. And a score and feedback. And this is a new activity type called hotspot, where you need to look at a picture and then find particular hot zones. So in this one, it's to find a group of the same things. So for example, if I click on the chairs, it will ask a question then about how many chairs are there in this group. And then click on continue. And what you'll notice below is that it'll say items found, so 1 out of 4. So I need to keep clicking until I find the area, and then it will test my terminology in this case for groups of things. Okay. So this activity will only be complete until I've found all 4 things. That's one new activity. Another type of one that we have is a sequencing one. So in this case, it's a bit like the drag and drop. I have to drag things along until they're in the right place. And I know that they're in the right place when I see this green bar underneath, but the goal is to get all green bars. Each lesson will also start with an introductory video as well, and where there's new activity types like this, we'll explain how that activity works as well. Okay, and then that's that activity complete. And as I say, on the Start Here page, there's a video that would explain this. And if at any time you wanted to download that video, maybe to have it to play for your learners, you can just click on the 3 buttons here and click on download. And then those instruction videos will be there. So just to go back to my slides again. So I was saying in the slides that when you're set up as a centre, you get a login for your learner, you get a login, you get some supports, and then you'll get a test account as well that you can try out. And then we'll also give you a login that you can use as a tutor, and any links to any training that is up and coming as well. So if you're in a centre, we're saying that you get a specific link from your tutor, and then that will be paired to a particular centre. If you are setting this up, we appreciate that the link can be quite long. So it'll always look something like this, courses.nala.ie, and then a code at the end, which is for the particular centre. I like to use Tiny URL myself. It's this website here, tinyurl.com, and then I can put my long URL in here and then make Tiny URL, and it'll give me a smaller version of it. That might be useful. So that's something to think about. Hopefully your learners are in centres, so then you can put that URL as a bookmark on the computers in your centre so that they can access it. And then, as I say, if you're not in a centre, you can use this as a distance learner as well. The beauty about being a learner that's connected to a centre is that as a tutor, you'll be able to view their progress. So I know some centres, once COVID came out, had gone and already had learners set up as their own individual distance accounts. And that was okay, but the only thing is then as a tutor, you wouldn't be able to view their progress. So just bear that in mind. I'll show you now a tutor view. So if I go to my platform and just log out here and log in with a tutor account. So as a tutor, you'll be given this in an email. Okay, you don't need to go to that courses.nala.ie piece, so you don't need to create the account yourself. You don't need to register for courses because we'll do that for you automatically, and we'll provide you with the username and login where you can go here. At any time, if you want to change your password or you forgot it, you can click on forgot your password here. So as a tutor, what I'm seeing first of all is I'm seeing all the courses that are available. I'm seeing these courses in the same view as the learner. So if I go to, for example, pattern and relationship and go to content, I can see everything in the same way that the learner just did. So really, there should be no reason for you to have to go and create a learner account to see the content, because everything will be there. As I say, we are giving you a test account, you know, if you want to just play around with it a little bit, but everything that you'll see will be as the learner saw it. So you can click into a particular activity and see it in the same way. The other thing that you'll be able to do as a tutor is that you can go to course admin and class progress, and then see all the learners that have registered for the course and who have done activity. Okay, you can only see this progress on a course level. Okay, so it's important to note that you're not seeing the progress at an overall center level. So you need to pick a particular course. So if I do that again, if I just go to home, to go back to the home page, where I can see all my courses. And then if I want to know how my learners are getting on in maths, I click on the maths course, then course admin and class progress. Okay, in this case, there aren't any learners signed up for it. So if I go back again and take quantity and number, course admin and class progress, then I can see my learners there and see how they're getting on. So for example, if I look at, say, this particular learner here, what I'll see is that they have grades and content listed out. Okay, so under grades, if there are any grades, and the only items that we grade is that initial quiz and an end test, so that they can go forward for QQI and portfolio work. Some of the courses will have portfolio work. Under content, I'll be able to see how they've progressed on the different lessons. So in this particular learner's case, I can see that there's been no progress on any of the lessons. Let's pick another course and another learner. So here's the one that I was just working on. And for this learner now, I can see under grades how they got on those different tasks. Okay, so I can see that they have passed everything in this case. And under content, I can see that they've done 100% of that first block, and they've done some of the lessons, which you saw me dipping in and out of on the first lesson, and some of the activities on the second lesson as well. I can drill down further into this by clicking on the arrow here, and I can see what they've never visited and what they have visited. And I can see the number of seconds on it as well. Unlike Write On, where a learner had to work their way through all the lessons successfully to get to the end test, and then if they failed the end test, they had to go back and do the lesson again, we're not putting that requirement in now. So a learner doesn't necessarily have to go back over the lessons again, although we do recommend it, and we think it's probably a good thing just to give a bit of practice. The thing to note is that learners can visit a page and not necessarily do the exercise. They could just click on the page and then click next, next, next. So if somebody comes back to you and says they've done all the lessons and it's a very long course like maths, which is 21 lessons, then you can go in now as a tutor and just visit the lesson, click on the arrow, and then see how long they've spent on each screen. And if they've only spent, like in this case, 0 seconds, then you would question what they've done. Now, that is their prerogative as an adult learner if they choose to do it. And they will be able to go forward and do an end test. But just, I suppose, bear in mind that you can view their progress. You can also then click on the actual activity and it will bring you to the activity itself. So you could also use that view to maybe get an idea of if somebody's getting stuck, if they're spending several minutes on a screen, maybe that's an indication that they're having problems. And then when you click on the screen, it'll bring you straight into the screen itself and give you some ideas that maybe they're having difficulty with terminology or the activity itself. So that's, as I say, something to bear in mind. So that's been a bit of an introduction there. I'm going to now hand over to you, just in relation to bringing your learners back in, a poll. And we're wondering what we can do in NALA to help, and what the situation is for you at the moment as you're trying to bring learners back in. So the first poll I'm going to launch here is about what are the greatest barriers to learning at the moment. And I'm just going to put that up there and just stop showing my screen at the moment. Okay, so I'll just give you a second just to put your thoughts in there. So the question was, what are the greatest barriers to learning at the moment? Is it broadband? Is it lack of resources? Is it lack of equipment? Is it other priorities for learners? So if they have family members that might be ill, it might be concerns around COVID, that this might be just difficult. And if there is something in there that isn't listed, feel free to put it into the questions as well, about a barrier to learning at the moment, and I can address that at the end. Okay, so I just see the results coming in there, and it's actually neck and neck between broadband and other priorities for learners, and actually now it's just changed to broadband. So 74, 70, up to 77% of you say that broadband is an issue. Okay, thank you very much for that. That's very interesting. Actually, lack of equipment, other priorities for learners, and broadband are all coming in as equal now at the very end at 72%. Okay. So then in terms of what we're doing in NALA, we want to know how we can help more. So what can we do in NALA to help you meet your learners' needs? So is it by putting on more training and webinars and discussions? Is it maybe more resources like books, handouts? Is it dedicated time for Q&A? So if we were to schedule a short session for your centre and any of your staff in your centre, is it to put more content on Learn with NALA? Maybe content to do with COVID and other areas, not necessarily QQI. So I'll give you a few seconds just to have a think about that. And again, there may be something there that's not listed. So feel free to type into the questions as well. I'll look at it at the end. If there's something more that we can do in NALA to try and help you. Okay, so it's coming in at the moment. It seems to be ahead, more training and webinars and discussions. So that's out in front at 71%. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to close that one now. And there's one more poll that I'm going to put up about what kind of learning is a priority for you at the moment? So the content that we have on Learn with Nala is level 2, mostly level 2 because that's what most of the certification has been around in the last 10 years on Right On. We're also putting level 3 content up now. As you can see, we had level 1 and level 4 content up and Right On, so we'll be working on that. And I would say most likely in that order, starting with level 1 and then level 4. We're also putting up tutor CPD content. So as tutors, there'll be content going out soon on integrating literacy, and then other areas that we'll be looking at coming into the autumn. We don't have any content on other areas like, say, media literacy or digital literacy. But again, we want to listen to you as an audience and see what areas should we start to prioritize. Okay, so again, I'll give you a few seconds just to think about that. And if there's something, again, that's not listed there, feel free to put it into the questions area and say, you know, a priority for us at the moment is, and that feedback is really good for us to get. Okay, so actually the answer that seems to be coming out the most is level 3 learning outcomes. So that's at 48%. So that's really good for us to know. We do have 3 courses at level 3 launched now, and we'll be looking to get another 3 out into October, I would say. So then at least people can use the platform to get a full major award in general learning at level 3. And then over time, we'll be adding into next year more of the level 3 courses as we had on Right On. So I think we had 14 in total, so that we can offer all of the different major awards that we had there before, which was ICT, employability skills, and general learning. Okay, thank you very much for participating in that poll. That was really good to get your feedback. So just to go back to the presentation again, and I'll be moving into the questions and answers section now shortly. So what is new on the new platform is our branded homepage, so with your logo. There's a lot of instructional videos, and again, we take your feedback on that, if we can improve it or put in more videos or maybe even less videos. Some new question types, as you've seen, the sequencing one and the hotspot, the badges or awards that you can get, and then the tutor login area. And just to note that the pathway to completion for certification, and this is in the handout that I've put into the webinar as well today, into that Getting Started guide, is if you want somebody to do these courses, as I say, you can simply use it as blended learning and get learners to dip in and out of the lessons. Or if you want it for certification, you can either do Path A, where people do the first block, and if they answer everything correctly, then an end test should appear. If they got some of the questions wrong, then they need to go and do the corresponding lessons that they got wrong. So if they got task 1 wrong in the initial quiz, then they need to go and do lesson 1 and only lesson 1, and then the end test would appear. If they got everything wrong, so this is Path C, then they'd need to do all the lessons and then that end test would appear. And once the end test is successfully done and the portfolio work, which is for most of the level 3 courses, then we will automatically check all of this. So unlike Right On, there isn't another form that you need to fill out again to say that you're submitting the work. We'll automatically do that once everything is successful and we do our IV and DA on that. So I'll give this these slides out with the recording. It'll probably be this evening when that's done, or early Monday morning. My email, just in case you need, if you're looking for an MOU or want to know something else about the platform, is there. It's cwhelan@nala.ie. The other way that you can request information about becoming a centre, if you're not one already, is when you go to courses.nala.ie, click on Become a Centre, and there's a short form that you can fill out there. Okay, so at this point, I'll open up the questions here and just see what kind of questions have come in. Okay, so I'm just going to read through some of the questions here. It says, will the learners have to upload material? Where's that facility? Thank you for that question. That's a really good question. So if I look at one of my accounts here, so I'm just going to log out of my tutor account at the moment and just log in with a learner account. Apologies. Okay, so here's another test account that I made earlier. If I go to the likes of maths and content, I'll just close this up at the moment. So there are end tests, as I say, that will appear. Okay, so these will require successful completion on all of these. And there's also a portfolio area. Okay, now we do recommend that this portfolio work be done after the end tests, because it takes resources from us, obviously, to check portfolio work. And we only really want to check the work of learners who are serious about going for a QQI award. So we recommend that the learners successfully done all of these and then do the portfolio work. However, some of the portfolio work has quite a bit involved in it. So for example, in maths, the first task is that you need to do a drawing which has to be done to scale. There's a number of things that you have to put into it, like measurements and so on, and angles. You can either submit it by post, or you can have that drawn out and click on upload and put it in here. And then we would be able to check that for you. So there is a facility there that learners can be dipping in and out of the portfolio work over time. You know, if you wanted to take a break from maybe doing some of the activities, have a look yourselves as tutors in the portfolio areas and see what needs to be done. And again, that can be something that's done in a classroom on graph paper. You could draw out that work, and then whenever you're happy with it and it's been checked, then you can go and take a photograph of it or scan it in and then click on upload, or it can be posted in as well. So in the likes of this case, this is a file that you download, and then there is a piece that needs to be filled out there. Okay, so just bear that in mind. And the other thing that I was just going to say about feedback for the learners, all the learners will have a My Progress button, and the videos that come at the end of those tests, whether it's that first quiz or any of these end tests, and in the case of maths, all of these have to be done. And there's 5 of them because there's 42 learning outcomes in maths at level 3. So we decided to break it up, which was based on feedback from right on. If the learner goes to My Progress and goes to grades, they'll be able to see how they're getting on in particular end tests. So if you see tasks like these, that means that that's the initial assessment or quiz. If you see question, then that's the end test. And in the case of this particular learner, they can see that they've done everything correctly, apart from these ones here, which is redo. So in the case of this particular learner, they would have to redo question 5.1 and 5.2 under number. So to redo that, they would click on content, go to the end test number, and they can either go through the whole lot if they want it, and you can do this with them. And if they get things wrong first time round and then if they get it right first time round and wrong second time round, that's okay, because the highest grade will be held. So that could be good practice. Or they can go straight to the question and click on retake. Okay. The other option there, review content, simply means that you can redo it again, but it won't affect the grade. So once I've answered this correctly, which I'm not even going to try now, I'll embarrass myself. Okay, I didn't do very well, but I could redo that again and again as many times as I need until it's correct. And then I would go back to my progress and I'd be able to see that the grade changed for that item that I went up to from redo to pass. Okay, there's quite a few questions. There's one specifically about a logo with the EU funded piece on the strap line. I would say, Suzanne, if you want to just send that to me in an email to cwhelan@nala.ie, and we'll have a look and see what we can do with the logo. If you are working with somebody who doesn't have a PPSN number, can you make one up? As you saw when I logged in, that was a made-up PPSN number, but I would say no, really. The learner has to have a PPSN, because those of you that are in centres that are not ETBs will be taking those details and putting them onto QBS system for certification and onto the Solus PLSS system. So the details have to be correct. So, I mean, it's technically possible, but you know, we are then going and putting those details up onto another system. So do bear that in mind. And then there was another question: if a provider has more than one tutor, do they use the same tutor login, or is it one per tutor? I would advise one login per tutor. And at the moment, we're creating accounts of about 5 tutor accounts per centre, but we'll gladly do more than that as well as needed, because we're trying to get to all the centres at the moment. We're just doing 5 to begin with. But again, you can send me an email and I can set up as many as needed. I'll just go through another 1 or 2 questions. If you've already completed the MOU, who do you contact to get the registration completed? So you can email me, cwhelan@nala.ie, and also copy in MOU@nala.ie. Okay, and I'll give you these slides afterwards, and it'll have those details in it. I know we're coming close to time now as well. What I can do is, just as I'm going through these questions, if anybody wants to put up their hand, I will try and get to you, and I can hand over the microphone to you. So if anybody wants to put up their hand, if they have a particular question that they'd like to raise. Okay, so I see Bernadette Glavin, you have a question, so I'm just going to try and unmute you now. And if you want to unmute yourself, Bernadette, you should be able to hear you now. So I'll just give you a minute there, Bernadette, so you can unmute yourself, and then we should be able to hear you. And just while Bernadette's doing that, there was a question from Gemma. Will you get a copy Of the webinar, yes. So what I'll do is I'll send the recording once it's processed to everybody that registered, as well as the slides, and I'll copy in my colleague Elaine, who works on the MOU as well, if you have any questions about that, and I'll put in the handout that went in today as well. Okay, Bernadette, if you want to speak at any time, you can go ahead. I'll also have a look through and see if there's anybody else who has a question and unmute you. Okay, so just while we're waiting for you, Bernadette, I'm just having a look through, and there was a question from Geraldine. If a centre has a number of tutors using the platform, will the tutor view show up all the learners? Can they be filtered so a tutor can look at their own class? So at the moment, it's only set up so that you would see all the learners that would be in a particular centre. Now remember that the view is on a course level. So if it's a case that you are looking after maths, for example, and you don't need to see learners in your centre who are doing, say, pattern and relationship, you can let us know. So then we can change it so that you'd only see maths learners, or another tutor will only see reading learners. So we can do that. But unfortunately, if you have 3 tutors who are all working with learners on reading, then they will all be able to see those learners. Yes. And there's a question from Lucy about, are there any fees for using the platform, as in free, premium, etc.? There's no fee for the learner. There is a fee for the centre, which is a €50. It's really a membership fee. But you get a lot of other membership benefits with that as well, and that's just to cover, I suppose, our own administration. So there's no other fee. Now we are paying a fee for user licenses. So when I send out the email about being set up as a tutor, and I give you a test account, I do say in that email, please don't go and set up your own test accounts, because you are taking a license, which there is a cost to, and we have purchased so many licenses for this year and so many for next year. We can increase that a bit, but theoretically you're taking a license from somebody else. So that's why we do ask, don't go and set up your own test accounts, which we know a lot of people did on Right On as well, which had a different licensing model. So just to be aware of that. Okay, Bernadette just said she put her hand up accidentally. That's fine, Bernadette. So yeah, thank you. We're just gone over time, and apologies for that. So I'm going to wrap it up there. And thank you very much for your time as well today. And we hope to see you soon again on one of these webinars. Okay, take care.